there's a very well documented case of a skinwalker that comes out of Phoenix. Now, there was this guy who came forward and he said that his mother lived next to like a couple 100 acres of desert. And he said, he was often afraid because she lived alone, but she did not want to move. Well, one night she awoke at like 2 a.m. and her dog was barking at the door. So she got up and figured he needed to go outside and use the bathroom. So she puts him on the leash and she starts walking him around the backyard. She said that's when she heard what sounded like her husband's voice coming from out in the desert behind some brush. She heard the voice say, "Are you there? Are you still there?" And she said, she called out her husband, Ingram, like, is that you, Ingram? And she said, the voice responded back, "Yes. Now come out here into the desert, like come behind this brush. Just come on." And she's like, "No, Ingram, you are deceased." And so she took off running with the dog back into the house. Well, for several weeks, she would have something knocking at her door, banging at her windows. When she would go to answer the door, there would be no one there. She would hear laughs and screams coming from outside. And she, eventually told her son about what had happened. And he come over to the house a couple times, and he couldn't find anything or find anyone. They reached out to the police. The police set up patrols. They couldn't find anything or catch anyone that was harassing this old lady. And then she said one night there was a really bad thunderstorm. And after the thunderstorm had stopped, she hears a knock at the door. She goes to answer it, and when she opens the door, she's surprised to see her husband, Edgar. And she was so excited that she almost gave him a hug. But then she was like, wait a second, he's been deceased for, a couple of years now. And she said it looked like Edgar, but it was just like his face was just, something was off about it. It almost looked rubbery, kind of like the skin, was hanging off the cheekbone. And she said this thing that looked like her husband said, "Are you here still? It's me, it's Edgar. Like, let me in the house and give me a hug." And she was like, "No, Edgar, you're deceased. You're not real. Like, you're not here." And she said he kept saying, "Just let me in the house. Come on, I am real. I'm your husband." And so she said she pushed him away because he moved in close on her. And as she pushed him away, she said he felt like ice cold. He turned and then ran off into the desert. So immediately she calls her son, who he calls the police. They go out there, they search the area, they couldn't find anything. Now, her son started to think okay, maybe she's losing it as she's getting older because we never see anything. And this, sounds pretty crazy what she's explaining. Until one night he happened to pull in front of her house and he said he sees this man standing next to her door. And when he locked eyes with him, he could see that he had these bright yellow eyes. And he said this man turned, took off running towards the desert, but he got down on all fours just like an animal.
Taking a look at another brand new video. This one was just posted on April 23rd, 2025, and is very mysterious. The video seems to show a group of men capturing and carrying unidentified creatures through a field. Here's the footage. The supposed creatures look extraterrestrial-like. They're pale, skinny, and have abnormally large heads. We see one man running with one on his back, and 3 other men attempting to carry another one. After watching this clip, it reminded me of another one I covered a few months ago. So here's that one too. According to newer sources, this one comes from Libya, when farmers encountered these creatures while working in the fields at night. The farmers listed that they weren't aggressive, but their behavior was frightening. They seemed to be territorial, guarding their spots, not letting people go past. Some think these supposed creatures could be a lost tribe, hiding out in caves and forests in the remote area. But others think these are aliens, extraterrestrial creatures from another planet that found their way to Earth. According to The Sun UK, a news source, in 2024 Libya has seen a rise in supernatural phenomena. A Boeing 747 pilot captain named Raoud van Pangermannen had various run-ins with mysterious bright light orbs during flights, particularly at night. So maybe the recent increase in UAP sightings have something to do with these creatures that were just found? Or maybe there's no connection at all. and they're just some kind of unidentified humanoid creatures roaming about in Earth's remote regions.
This is probably like the craziest ghost story I haven't told you.
What happened?
We went to go visit like my Lola's grave. My great Lola, actually.
Okay.
We drove up, we noticed like, oh wait, the grave is dug up. It's not there anymore. But to go over it and get to that spot, we had to step over other people's graves. And I didn't want to do it. The grave like keeper, they're like, yo, just go. But something was like, oh no, I shouldn't like it felt wrong.
Stepping over, yeah.
But I did it anyway because I couldn't move. You know, like how am I can't teleport. Yo, when we got in the car, I had this weird feeling like, you know how you would give, let's say, a younger cousin like a piggyback.
Yeah.
It felt like
You felt weight on you?
it felt like somebody was like piggybacking me.
Oh no.
I just recently remembered when I was on the plane.
Yeah.
I fell asleep and I had a dream. I was like in the basement of some house. It was really weird. It wasn't my house. It wasn't anything like that. It felt like something's there that's not supposed to be. I started screaming, unwanted spirit, leave. I said, in Jesus' name, leave. Yo, right when I said that,
Yeah.
there was like,
Creepy True Stories Part 1. Lisa Lamb was visiting the California Cecil Hotel when she strangely disappeared. Surveillance shows her coming in and out of an elevator almost as if she's scared of somebody or possessed or something, seeing a ghost, but there's nobody there. Nobody could explain this strange behavior. One day, customers of the hotel started tasting something weird in the water. When they went to check the water tanks, they found Lisa's body in it. No drugs or alcohol was found in her autopsy. And to this day, nobody knows what happened to Lisa.
A question that has long plagued police is, what do we make of the McGrady tapes? So back in like 2001, at a Blockbuster in McGrady, North Carolina, a car drove by in the parking lot and just dropped a tape outside of the building. So employees saw that and they went outside to get the tape and they were like, who would drop a tape off like that? Until they looked at it and they noticed something was wrong. This was the tape that was recovered from the parking lot and it was completely unlabeled. According to the story, they took it to the back room where they were able to play it back and this was the footage they found. It is a 40-minute video of a person's face looking under what looks like a bathroom stall, and it's completely silent, like straight uncut 40 minutes of this and the cameraman just breathing heavily while they videotape this. Management turned the tape over to police, and the strangest part is that a search canine signaled that the tape had traces of human decomp on it. To this day, whoever's behind the McGrady tape is a mystery.
Alright, I'm scared. This TikTok creator, who calls himself Jim Bob, and I'll go ahead and I'll tag him below, tells a story about the time that he worked at a morgue. And if this would have happened to me, my soul would have left my body. So he says that he worked at a morgue for about 10 years, and this is the scariest thing that he saw. He says that his job was to clean up the body, clean up the face, make it look presentable for their family to come identify. And this one body, he noticed that her eye was twitching. So he goes, he lifts her eyelid, and there is a maggot in her eye. So he says that he's trying to remove it, and it's literally trying to embed itself even further into her eye. So he grabs tweezers and is concentrating on trying to remove this maggot, and he says that he's about an inch away from her face. He says that her mouth slowly opened as far as it could go, like that. So he freaks out, he steps back, and then the ugliest noise comes out, kind of like oh hell no. So he runs out, goes and gets his boss, explains what happened. They come back and he says that everything was back to normal and that his boss didn't believe him and she sent him home. Again, he worked there for 10 years and he never went back after she sent him home. He was done. What would you do if you were to see something like this? I'm telling you, my soul evacuated immediately. What do you guys think?
This man right here literally met a jinn and even talked with him. The man you're looking at right now was a famous scholar from Saudi Arabia called Ibn Baz, and he basically used to teach people the religion of Islam. Hundreds of students will gather around him every day in the school where he used to teach to basically learn stuff about religion. And this school basically functions like a college, okay? Students will learn during the day, and when it's late, they go to their dorms to basically sleep, you know, normally. But everything changes one day. One of the many students that this scholar had was basically a duo, so two friends who always were together. One of them was Khaled, like the DJ, and the other one was Omar. So, like I told you, these two were always together, okay? They even slept in the same dorm. They were basically twins. The only difference is Khaled is from this area, okay? But Omar is a foreign. He actually comes from Africa. And I didn't say this for nothing, okay? I need you to remember this detail because it's gonna become really important when the story becomes scary. You see, one day Omar and Khaled woke up, they had their breakfast, and then they immediately went to the scholar. And when they made it there, the scholar started teaching, Omar and Khaled were taking notes, basically studying, and then when he finished, they both decided to go back to the dorm so they can get some rest. They finally made it back to the dorm, and each one of them is ready to sleep, but here something happened that will change literally everything. See, meanwhile they were both laying in their bed ready to sleep, they both noticed something. The room's door is not closed, and it needs to be. So Omar, who was here, decided to ask Khaled. He was like, Khaled, ayo bro, can you please close the door? So Khaled's response was, nah bro, I'm sorry to tell you this, but there is no way. Bro, are we serious? You're closer to the door than I am. The door is literally 2 steps far from you. Yeah, but you see, the point is, I'm so tired, okay? It doesn't matter, 1 step, 100. I'm so tired, there's no way I'm getting up. Can you do it, please? Alright, man. You know what, I guess. Thank you, bro. I'm really sorry. I appreciate your effort, bro. I owe you one. I'm sorry. Again, thank you so... Thank you so much. You see, when Omar closed the door, Khaled was so shocked. He was so shocked to the point where he couldn't sleep that night. If you're asking why was Khaled so scared and traumatized at that moment, well, here is why. You see, when Omar tried to close the door, he didn't even touch it. Yes, he closed it from very far just by pulling his hand, thinking that Khaled was not watching, but he was. Another way to say it, Omar didn't close the door with his hands by pulling it like other people, like normal people. No, he just came close and controlled it. Back to Khaled, when he saw that, he reacted like, that's it, I swear to God, I'm telling the scholar tomorrow. After closing the door and while going back to his bed, Omar was like, hey yo bro, you made me close the door, huh? You know, there's nothing to do about it, but don't worry, I got this. Good night, bro. Good night, good night. So, like I told you, Khaled didn't sleep the whole night because he was scared. He waited till the sunrise and then boom. Immediately went to the scholar. He was like, you will not believe what I just saw. The scholar said, okay, what's going on? Tell me. Yesterday, I was in the dorm with Omar and he closed the door without even touching it. I'm not even lying. Are you sure? I'm telling you, I promise you, I know what I saw. Okay, since he did that, Omar is a jinn. He's a what? Yes, you heard me well. Can you please call him and tell him to come alone? You can go. Okay, I will call him. You see, when Omar came, the scholar started the discussion by saying, promise me you will not lie. Swear to God you will not lie. Omar was like, yeah, I swear to God I'm not lying. What's going on? Okay, since you sworn, are you a human or a jinn? I'm asking you a question. Again, are you a human or a jinn? Respond. This is where Omar shocked everybody by saying that he was a jinn. Yes, he admitted that he was not human. He's taking the form of a human, but he's not one. When the scholar heard that, he said something to Omar. He said, wherever you do, stay in your human form. Do not reveal your real form here. He was so smart and quick by saying that because if a jinn reveals his real form, nobody will survive from their ugliness. After that, Omar will reveal that he was here for good intentions and he will never do such thing. He even explained to the scholar that he came here to learn about religion from him so he can guide his people back where he came from. So yeah, this time Omar was chill, okay? He was a jinn, but he didn't want to scare nobody. He didn't want to scare you, so you can sleep peacefully tonight. If you made it until here, then thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. And in case you didn't know, I have a YouTube channel called Mr. Nice Curls. This is the one, not the first one that pops up. This is the one. As you can see, I have more stories there. And a quick message to whoever has this fake channel right here. Like, hey, I stole your videos. Are we deadass, bro? Like, seriously, delete that shit.
What the fuck was that? Bro!
What's going on around you?
I don't know. I'm frozen. I am frozen. Did the window break?
Bro, it was so crazy. These 4 teenagers who quote unquote just wanted to do it to see what happens. You know?
That's what we're gonna do.
That's exactly what was so perfect. They were like fooling around. They were disrespecting it. They were like, oh, if anyone's here, move it. Just move it. So nothing happened.
Yeah.
But then they came back and then they took it more serious. And then they're like, oh, please, like, who is in the room with us? And then it didn't go to a name, fam.
Yeah.
It went to the number 6.
Nah.
The number 6.
Chill.
The number 6, fam. So they were still fooling around.
Yeah.
I don't know why the guy did this, but then they were like, oh, what is your goal here today? And then they're like, if there's no peace, I'm not going.
That's what it said?
Yeah, I'm not going. So there was one guy in the video who started going like this. Like, look at me, guys, look at me, guys.
Yeah.
And I'll show you his reaction because they caught it on camera.
Hey, that's
Still not funny.
Laughing.
Now, at this point, he says that the air in the forest starts to feel really heavy as a fog even takes over the forest. All he can see in front of him is his breath, as it's so dark in the forest, it's hard to really see much. He has a light from his cell phone. Again, he has the camera and the Ouija board, but that's all he has. And he's so certain that he feels like he's being watched that he even starts to worry that he should have had some sort of protection, or that maybe he should have asked one of them to come with him and witness the thing, right? Aaron starts to shake as he's approaching these ruins, and he couldn't really decipher whether it's that he was cold or that he was becoming nervous, because in his mind, he's tricking himself now, right? He's tricking himself in the silence by thinking he's hearing something. He's tricking himself in his peripheral vision by seeing a tree that for a brief moment might have looked like a person. So, he is a little bit frightened, but he's also on the side of understanding why and having a reason for it. You see, Aaron never thought that he was someone who couldn't be scared. He was just someone who knew that what he was scared of wasn't actually anything to be afraid of. In his brain, it's all the mind playing tricks on him, right? Aaron just doesn't believe that ghosts are real, and he certainly didn't think that the Ouija board was either, but every now and again he keeps hearing these footsteps behind him and almost considers turning back because the energy is just weird. Again, he reiterates that it wasn't because he was scared or thought that there were ghosts, just maybe there was a serial killer. Aaron wasn't quite sure. After 20 minutes of walking and battling these noises that Aaron's hearing, he finally finds this structure. Now, Aaron says it was more like crumbling remains of a stone chapel or something, with the roof long gone and vines growing through the cracks. The air inside felt wrong, heavy and charged. He said it felt like it hadn't been touched in years, like stagnant energy that he was pushing through to go inside, right? Aaron remembers that he's giggling to himself nervously as he goes in. He sets up the flashlight on his phone. He sets up the tripod and the camera that are like attached to each other, and he presses record. He then goes over and sets himself all up, right? He puts a couple of candles. He's sitting cross-legged in front of the board, and he makes sure that the camera is in fact recording. He grabs his iPhone, flips it around, and shows the date and time so that whoever is going to watch this for proof can see that Aaron really was there on Halloween night, close to midnight, ready to play this Ouija board.
This is how you spot a skinwalker. On May 6th of 2020, a YouTube channel by the name Gemini Home Entertainment uploaded a survival video. And it was pretty basic, until it started to demonstrate the dangers of nature, calling one specifically an auditory hallucination. You can see someone camping, when all of a sudden they begin recording what seems like a man calling out for help. But if you take a closer look, there's definitely something off about this guy. To this, the video says don't approach it. If you hear them, they have already heard you.
Welcome back to Spooky Story Time. We have another one for you today, and let me tell you, this one is a scary freaking story. You may have heard it. The house is known as the Demon House. This story even shook skeptics. In 2011, a mother and her 3 children moved into a small rental home in Gary, Indiana, and what followed was truly terrifying, and this has been labeled as possibly one of the most terrifying real possession cases to ever happen in the United States. It started out as your typical haunting: footsteps in the basement, doors creaking open, shadows moving throughout the room. But then it took a turn. and the children started to be affected, and they started to act really strange. One of the boys started speaking in this really scary, deep voice, talking about death. Another child was levitating above their bed while they were asleep, and this is absolutely insane. One of the little boys walked backwards up a wall. And what's even crazier is a social worker and nurse witnessed it all. I don't know about you, but if I saw a little boy walking backwards up a wall, oh hell no. That's insanity, especially to have that many witnesses. This is not just your typical ghost. This is absolutely a demon. The family fled the home, and the police and CPS and the hospital all investigated and found crazy, unexplained things. And these things were documented in police reports and audio recordings. This was so intense and had so much evidence to back it up. It is insanity. The case became so notorious that Zach Bagans bought the demon property. And I do know there is controversy going on with Zach, and I don't support any inappropriate behavior by him. I'm just telling what really happened with this home and situation. But Zach filmed a documentary there called The Demon House. He had crew members quit. He experienced a lot of things in that home, and also had some kind of permanent eye damage from that investigation. And the documentary is pretty decent if you want to check it out. It's not that bad. But he said the house was so dangerous that he did demolish it. And for him not to use it as a money grab to open it up to the public and have them pay to investigate it and stuff, there must have been something extremely terrifying in this home, because I would think that he wouldn't have demolished it unless he honestly felt that it was a danger to society. Which is totally insanity. The whole story is crazy. How much evidence with the police, CPS, hospitals, people who aren't gonna document paranormal activity and put it out there. They discovered the craziest thing they could have even walked into with this demon home. Some say the evil still lingers on the land. Others think it could have possibly followed the family. But I don't know. I think that the land and where the house set is probably still extremely haunted. That just doesn't go away when you have that intense evil. But that poor family was literally put through hell. It was a war and a battle for their souls. This evil demon wanted to tear them all apart, which is absolutely terrifying. But check out that documentary if you're into that, and let me know what you guys think in the comments. Would you even go visit the land to do an investigation? I would be interested in it just because my curiosity is getting the best of me. But this truly was a terrifying case about a possession, and I feel horrible for that family. You know that they have everlasting PTSD and trauma from what they experienced in that home.
Stop scrolling, because this has to be one of the strangest and scariest skinwalker encounters ever. TikTok user Samael said that he was walking across a parking lot when a man called him by his name. He turned around and realized that he didn't recognize this man and had no idea how he even knew his name. Things got even weirder though. The man then asked him for $1 and said that, "I know you only have one in your wallet right now," which was true. Samael said that at this point his heart was jackhammering. He froze there and didn't know what to say, so he said, "Yeah man, I only got $1, but you can have it." He gave him the $1, and then the strange man said, "Yo, do you want to see something?" The man then allegedly lifted up the back of his shirt and showed him his tail. Then he got on all fours like an animal and crawled away.
This creepy video went viral, nearly 3 million views, and once you hear why, you'll never look at your car the same way again. 2 girls were just sitting in their car, waiting for a friend in a quiet parking lot in Louisiana. Out of nowhere, a strange man walked up, bent their windshield wiper backward, then folded the side mirror in and walked away like nothing happened. They were confused, until the driver realized what it meant. If she had stepped out to fix it, that man, or someone hiding nearby, could have grabbed her. People actually do this on purpose to lure victims out of their cars.
But one day the school had a fire drill. Carmen was standing next to a sewer, and the girls did the unthinkable. They thought it would be funny to push her in the sewer, and that's exactly what they did. Carmen had passed away and broke her neck. People at her school began to get some weird messages on MySpace from an unknown person claiming that Carmen's death was not an accident. She is now an evil spirit, and if you don't share this story, she comes for you.
This is the most haunted forest in America, the Freetown State Forest. In the 1970s, a young girl was found tied to a tree here. She had been assaulted and left for dead by a killer. And in that same decade, a cult held devil-worshipping ceremonies out here and committed a number of murders. One of these murder victims' heads was found, but her body was never located. It's possible it's still in these woods. Bigfoot calls this place home along with spirits, demons, and Ronald Reagan saw a UFO here. My full documentary that I filmed here will be on my YouTube this evening. It's spooky.
Something very strange was happening to these patients in this hospital, and no one could explain why. In 2017, a 61-year-old man underwent an abdominal surgery at Stellenbosch Hospital in South Africa. Now, from what I understand, there was really no repercussions from this operation, and everything went fairly normal, other than this man obviously needing to seriously rest from his weakened state. Early next morning, around 5 a.m., a nurse visited the male patient. She made sure he was okay and then left to grab him some fresh linen. But when she would return, a horrifying chain of events would begin to unfold. For 13 days, this male patient seemed to practically vanish. Not a single person in the hospital saw where this man went. They even reached out to the family, and even they couldn't figure out where or why this man just mysteriously left. Not forgetting to mention, he was in a terrible physical state, which makes this whole thing even more random. Finally, on that 13th day during renovations, workers would make a terrifying discovery that no one can still explain. Inside the ceiling was the body of this missing man. Weirdly enough, he was in a very isolated, inaccessible area in this hospital. So the combination of his surgery making him practically disabled, and the fact that this weird spot was very difficult to get up to, makes the probability of him willingly doing this extremely unlikely, or damn near impossible. Authorities were immediately called, and upon investigating, police ruled out the probability of it being foul play. Ultimately, he passed away from his own surgery with no one to blame. Some speculated maybe the workers had a part in this because they waited a few days to alert the family of his disappearance. But regardless, no one knows who or what motive was behind this because it was such an odd and rare occurrence that has never happened before. Well, at least that was until the same situation happened to another patient again.
Can we show him the older homestead?
Yeah, let's go. As you know.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Was that you?
Yeah, that's on either side.
They went to both.
Yeah.
The Shanghai tunnels are a series of tunnels underneath Portland, Oregon. Now, they go back to the 1800s when they were actually built and used to Shanghai people. Now, a lot of creepy stories have came out of the Shanghai tunnels. This is one of them. Now, there was this man named Sean. Sean grew up in Portland, Oregon, and he worked downtown. And one day when he was going to work, he ran into this homeless man named Eli. And he felt really bad for him, so he gave him $10. Well, he continued to see Eli, and they ended up becoming friends, and he would constantly give him money like here and there. Well, one day he was downtown and he runs into Eli, and he gives him a couple bucks, and they start talking. And he asks Eli, like, hey, have you ever heard of the Shanghai tunnels? And when he asked Eli that, Eli just kind of like tensed up and started shaking and was like visibly scared. And he's like, yeah, I know about the tunnels, but I don't like to talk about it. I had a friend who went down there, and he said he encountered something, and he seen something down there, and after that, he was just not the same anymore. And Sean was like, but I thought they blocked the tunnels off, and you couldn't go down there. And Eli's like, there's a spot over here, you know, on this one street, and like I know a secret entrance and how to get to these tunnels, but I will not go near there. So a couple more times he runs into Eli, and he decides to ask him, hey, if I give you $100, would you take me down to the tunnels? And Eli's like, no, man, I will not do it. Like, I won't go anywhere near there. So a couple weeks later, he's downtown, and it's late at night. He bumps into Eli again, and Eli's like, hey, man, do you got that $100 and I'll take you to the tunnels because I really need the money? And he's like, okay, yeah, you know, like, here's the money, like, show me the tunnels. So he takes him a couple blocks, and he takes him behind this building. And there was sort of this dark doorway. And he said above the doorway was this graffiti that said, no return. And he said that just kind of freaked him out because it was like they were going into somewhere where there was no return. And they then began walking down these dark set of stairs. And they found themselves in this maze of tunnels. So they make their way down all of these different corridors. As they're walking down this one particular tunnel, they start hearing crying. And they're like, where's that coming from? Like, what is making that sound? And it then began to sound like someone was just literally like wailing. And that's when they shined their flashlight and they stumbled upon like a hole in the concrete, and it led into a room. So they walked into this room and they started to look around with their flashlight, when over in the corner they see this black looking wolf dog type creature, and it's growling at them. So they take off running. They're terrified. Sean couldn't keep up with Eli, and he ends up getting lost in one of the tunnels. So he begins just walking around in the dark, like, Eli, like, where are you, man? Like, I'm scared. Like, where are you? And that's when he hears something, like a footsteps moving in the dark. So he shines his light directly in front of him, and he said he sees this woman hunched over, and she's bawling. She's crying. And he's like, ma'am, are you okay? She doesn't say anything. He takes a couple steps closer. Ma'am, are you all right? And he said, all of a sudden, this woman stood up, turned around, and she had no face. And this terrified him, so he took off running again, and he's like screaming and stuff. Eventually, he thinks he sees the shadow of his friend Eli. So he's like, Eli, man, like, come on, let's get out of here. Like, I'm terrified. Come on, let's go. And he said the shadow walked into like one of these chambers along the tunnel. So he walks over to this chamber, and he goes in, and he's like yelling for Eli. He looks around. There's no one in this chamber or room. And he said that's when all of a sudden he felt a cold breath breathing on his neck, and he knew there was someone standing behind him. He slowly turns around, and he said standing there was what looked like this 1800s miner wearing some kind of lantern on his head, and he had a noose around his neck. And he just took off running as fast as he can, and eventually he did find his way out of these tunnels, and he was just like terrified. Well, a couple days later, he runs into Eli on the streets, and he's like, yo, man, are you okay? Like, what happened that night? You know, did you see anything else? And Eli's like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, what's going on? And he's like, you know, the other day when we went to the tunnels. He's like, the tunnels? What are you talking about? I don't go to the tunnels. And he's like, no, we went down in the tunnels together, and we seen that like wolf thing. And he's like, you must be losing it, man, because I did not go down in the tunnels with you.
I would never stick around in a school library at night, and this is the exact reason. This picture was captured by Jalen Nell. She was in her school library, and this is the entrance point, and she's in there at like 2 something in the morning, and she thought she was completely alone. Until she realized that there was another woman in this library, and she was being watched. She ends up deciding to leave because she feels uncomfortable, but before she does, she takes this photo of the entrance to send to her friend and tell her about this creepy woman. But I want to look at this photo a little closer. In the frame, she had unknowingly captured the woman who was staring directly at the camera. This visual is chilling. Jalen would actually end up reporting this incident to Student Affairs, who then checked the camera footage at the entrance of the library. What really unnerved them is that when they looked at the footage, they never saw this person leave the library. And if you guys are loving Creep Time, make sure to go follow on Insta.
This is the creepy story about the farmer. One dark, stormy night, a man was driving down a road through a forest. All of a sudden, his engine began to smoke, and the car slowly came to a stop. The man then realized he ran out of gas and began walking down the road to the nearest gas station. Just then, he noticed bright lights in the distance. As the lights came closer, he realized it was a farmer driving a tractor. The farmer pulled up next to the man and said, "What are you doing alone in the forest in the middle of the night?" "My car broke down," said the man. "I need a gas station." "There's no gas station around here for miles," said the farmer. "But if you like, you can stay at my house." The man agreed and thanked the farmer for his kind offer. The farmer brought him back to his house and took him to a room to sleep in. The farmer said the house had no electricity, so it's gonna be dark. The man said that's fine and he fell asleep. A few hours later, he was awoken by a noise in his room, and when he tried to move, he realized he was tied up. He then realized there was people around his bed with a mask on. One of the people then said, "We don't want to do this, but our farm cannot grow food, so we are hungry." The man screamed as they cut him up piece by piece.
There's a phone number that only rings once. If you call it at 3 a.m., it'll answer back the next day. But what you'll get is something disturbing. Legend says that if you call the number, it won't answer right away. The call won't connect, but you will hear silence. But the next morning, your phone will show you a missed call, and with that missed call is left a voicemail. You answer the voicemail and you figure that it's your own voice. When you press play, the voice sounds just like you, but a bit distorted and slower. It sounds a bit off, but at the end of the message, it says, "Don't open the door." Most people ignore this message until someone goes knocking in the middle of the night. One soft knock, then two, then another, then a soft voice that sounds like you, right at your front door. The voice will whisper, "It's me, let me in," tricking anybody including yourself. If you delete the voicemail, it doesn't stop. If you block the number, they'll keep calling you from different numbers, mainly from your own, and yet again you will hear your voice. So whatever you do, don't call this number.
25. One discovery on Google Maps in Los Angeles spread quickly online and became a viral mystery. In a rail yard near Dodger Stadium, the word "help" could be seen written again and again in giant letters. Nearby were other words, including federal and LAPD. Each letter had been carefully built using long pipes or large wooden boards. When people first noticed the writing, theories began to spread immediately. Some thought it was a real cry for help, maybe from people trapped or being forced to work. The fact that the writing was inside a Union Pacific rail yard fueled more suspicion. Los Angeles railways have a history of theft and crime, and some feared this was connected to organized trafficking or forced labor. People contacted the LAPD, who quickly went to check the site, and around the same time, a social media user visited the rail yard with a camera to film what it looked like from the ground. What he found changed everything. The rail yard was surrounded by homeless encampments, and even though the area was supposed to be fenced off, a large hole in the fence made it easy to enter. Local homeless residents explained that the writing wasn't a signal from victims at all. It was the work of another homeless man who had been creating these giant messages for years. The LAPD later confirmed this story. They said they had spoken to the man many times before and had even offered him both housing and mental health support, but he always refused. Have you dreamed of this man? In 2008, a website appeared asking a simple question: have you dreamed of this man? The site quickly filled with short, eerie stories from people who claimed they had. Posters with the same sketch and the same question even began showing up in cities. Within a year, the mystery had gone viral. More than 10,000 people had written to the site, saying they too had seen him in their sleep. Soon, the idea that this man was part of some real, supernatural phenomenon started gaining traction. On forums like 4chan, users decided to investigate, and they actually found the solution. A reverse IP lookup of the website showed it was connected to a guerrilla marketing company, a group that promotes ideas or products through unusual and attention-grabbing stunts. This raised suspicion that the Dream Man wasn't real at all, but simply a creation. In 2010, the site's creator, Italian sociologist and marketer Andrea Natella, admitted that the whole thing was a stunt. He said the drawing was based on his father and that the early dream testimonials were not real, but he never explained what the campaign was supposed to promote, and the website was simply left online. Not everyone who emailed the site was lying, though. Many people probably did dream about the man, but it might have just been a mental suggestion after seeing the image and hearing the stories. I feel fantastic. If you're 18 or older, you probably saw the viral video called "I Feel Fantastic." In it, a stiff robot with wide, staring eyes sang an eerie tune that kept saying, "I feel fantastic," while wearing different outfits. The video seemed to appear out of nowhere, and once it spread, people couldn't stop speculating about what it really was. The most popular theory was frightening. The robot had been built by a disturbed criminal who dressed it in the clothes of his victims. At some point in the video, the camera pointed towards a random garden, and people speculated that was the place where the victims were buried. The mystery only deepened when the original upload disappeared from the internet. Re-uploads kept circulating for years, keeping the legend alive but never solving the question of where this strange robot actually came from. In 2020, writer Yeetzy Lit decided to investigate, and searching through old websites, Lit found photos of the same robot on obscure Android enthusiast forums, some dating back to 2001. These forums revealed the name of the man who created it, John Bergeron. Far from being a criminal, Bergeron was an inventor trying to build something new for the entertainment industry. The robot's name was Tara, and Bergeron had built her as a prototype for about $2,000 at the time. His dream was to mass-produce Tara as a singing android, but that plan never succeeded. If you want to discuss this video or suggest an idea for the next one, join my Discord. Link in the description.
And here's the part that's got people talking. The comet is coming from an unusual angle. It's moving faster than any other interstellar object, even faster than a Oumuamua. and it'll be hidden behind the sun when it's closest to Earth. Loab wrote, that could be intentional, to avoid telescopes, or to send something toward Earth undetected. But now here's the reality check. Top astronomers are calling this theory nonsense and insulting. They say every bit of data points to one conclusion. The Rhea Atlas is just a very old, very fast-moving interstellar comet. The cloud of ice and dust around it stretches up to 15 miles wide, and it could be up to 3 billion years older than our solar system. And here's what experts are saying.